back, guys, to part 3 of our tournament review for the Hunt. I think we all fared pretty well this event. As a panel, Sean finished the tournament in 6th place, Caine 7th.
Yep.
And how did I go, boys?
8th.
I finished 4th. So we did pretty well. I think we all kind of put ourselves in positions where if we had a really good day 2, we could have come through. But we all hit some adversity in day 2, so we'll go through that when we get to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the rounds. Start at mission 1. We'll all discuss our matchups and we'll go through that until game 5. So Sean, do you want to lead us off?
So mission 1, your Eternal War was Big Guns Never Tire with 5 objectives. The Maelstrom side was Cleanse and Control, and the secondaries were all standard. So the bonus mission for this one was interesting because you had to capture 3 objectives with any unit, but you had to pass a leadership check on 3 objectives basically. Worth 2 points. Each round was
not very hard to get, is it?
No, not at all. So each round was worth 20 points for the max win, 2 points for your bonus. How'd you go, Jez?
Well, Sean and I actually played round 1. That was it was obviously interesting to play a team member first round. Exciting. It was good because we could start the tournament with a very casual, kind of relaxed game. So from my perspective, I was playing my Chaos Biker star, Nurgle Bike star with some supporting Havocs and Plague Marines in Rhinos. So I looked at Sean's list and Sean was running a big unit of Gazgull. What's the formation called?
It's the Council of War.
Council of War. So Sean had a Council of War, a big, really scary unit, Gazgull, that can call a Wire every turn with a unit with a lucky stick in a truck.
Do you want me to tell you what was in it?
Yeah.
So it's Gazgull, 2 war bosses, Mad Doc Grotsnick, which is the named Pain Boy, and then there was a unit of Knobs and a big mech. So what I did was I gave one of the Knobs Mega Armor. Sorry, one of the war bosses, I apologise. One of the war bosses had Mega Armor with the lucky stick, which, as we spoke about in our community comp review, that's gone down to 1 comp. So being in the Orc Decurion type thing, it meant that Gazzy could call his wire every turn for a 2-up invul, Eternal Warrior, character, and then a lucky stick mob.
Well, Caine, do you want to give us a little bit of an insight into what you think of that unit?
Well, it's a very tough unit. It's very hard hitting, very hard to get around. It's got a 2-up invuln at the front with Eternal Warrior, obviously. So you've got the option to challenge with him or the guy with the lucky stick, depending on the way you want to go.
No, he has to challenge every turn. In that formation.
So he challenges obviously then, and so he tanks any sort of power fists or any instant deaths or anything like that. Well, basically you make sure the war boss is in base to base at that initiative on the charge, so that any sort of close combat attacks or any sort of power weapons or anything like that, pretty much you're going to hit the other guy. So you've got 2-up rerollables on him. So it's a very, very tough unit to get around and to fight.
It's an interesting unit. It does have a big falling in that Gazzy's your only invul save in the unit.
Yeah, correct.
The only invul save. And whilst you do have FMP across the unit and the majority of it is T5, having only 1 character with an invul save means that whenever you're running anything AP2, because Gazzy has to challenge, you can't just go to set wounds on it.
Yeah, you can get around it, which means you can even challenge with a Chaff Sergeant, and its Chaff Sergeant has to tank.
And Gazzy has to hit that dude.
So Gazzy gets pretty much mitigated some of the time.
I think it's, anyway, I think it's obviously an extremely powerful unit. Puts out an absolute boatload of strength 10 attacks at initiative 1, but it just overwhelms units. So, like in the matchup that I had with Sean, I was running the Nurgle Bike star with some supporting elements. Looked at Sean's army. He has a lot of. He also had some Orc Dreadnoughts.
Some looters.
The big, what's it called? The
Morkanaut. Sorry.
Gorkanaut.
And I kind of just looked at all that stuff and just realised that I just couldn't deal with the star. There was no way my unit of Nurgle Bikes, which can jink for a 2-up with Cypher in the unit, jink's worth nothing against the strength 10 attacks in combat. You weren't going to double out endurance, so endurance for me was something very important to get off. But we just played a game where I basically just kited around, killed off Sean's supporting elements. I tried to bait half of Sean's army into half the board, where he took a couple units of boys up, and I withdrew my Death Star from the middle of the board and eliminated those units. I basically just stalled for time, sat on objectives, tried to keep his unit at bay, and I was able to accrue quite a few Maelstrom cards through those turns.
Yeah, your first few turns you were way up with me on cards. I drew really bad cards. the first turn for me was really devastating. You had first turn. My truck that was running the starring got stunned, so I didn't get the bonus movement that I really needed for that star to get across the board. So it really took a long time before it actually did anything. And unfortunately, a few of the other elements really took a long time before they came into effect, like the Gorkanaut and the cans and the Death Dreads and whatnot. My first game with Orcs, that was my first game I played with Orcs, I made some very critical errors. Like I performed a big multi-soul on one side of the board with a big unit of boys into a vehicle and into some other stuff. But I forgot, of course, that you lose Furious Charge, and then I realised my boys are strength 3, I can't even touch this AV10 vehicle. So I did throw a few things in that.
Yeah, so that helped me out, obviously. But yeah, so at one point, for those of you that have watched my Breaking the Meta, like the introduction to my list, I basically flatted out a unit of Plague Marines in their Rhino onto one of the Eternal War objectives in Sean's deployment zone. And I knew that Sean just didn't have anything. He just didn't have the backfield shooting to deal with that Rhino and then the guys inside. So I ended up winning that game. I think I scored the 16 points to your 6. So we both scored the bonus. So I think the raw points were 16 to 4 raw. And then you went up to 6 and I went up to 18. So it was a good win. So Caine, tell us about how you went.
Oh, well, first round I played Matt Morrisoli with Dark Elder. So basically looking at Tau versus Dark Elder, it's not a great matchup for Dark Elder some of the time unless they get first turn. So Matt decided to try and hide a little bit of his models, try and line of sight, try and deep strike, and things like that. So in my first turn I think I managed to wreck most of his transports and stuff and pop a few of his units inside them quite easily. There was some interesting luck in a few spots in our game, but it went pretty well. Maelstrom of War, I capped a lot of the Maelstrom quite early and was able to keep up on top of the Maelstrom. Like he was capping them too, but I was definitely getting a couple of D3s and things like that, shooting them off objectives quite easily, just being like Venoms and Raiders and things like that. It's very easy to. He did drop down with a unit of oh god, what are they called? The monstrous creatures. The Dark Elder monstrous creatures.
Talos?
Talos and a Pain Engine formation. And I was running a Firebase cadre, so I was running 2 broadsides and a unit of double Riptides, so they all have Tank Hunter and Monster Hunter, so I was able to shoot that up pretty comfortably as well. So overall, I did pretty well against him. The final result, I think, was a 19 something like 4. I think it was 19-4.
So he put up a bit of a fight, didn't he?
Yeah, he definitely put up a bit of a fight. Had some good rolls and stuff go his way a little bit, which gave me a bit of a scare. So it was definitely a good game.
Obviously, both capped some bonus points to get
yeah, we
that,
definitely capped some bonus points and stuff. So yeah, very good.
Alrighty, well, so let's go into mission 2.
Mission 2 was Emperor's Will with 2 objectives worth 4 VP each. Maelstrom was contact lost. The secondaries were all homogeneous. The bonus mission for this one was really interesting. This is the first game where players got to add the Inquisitor to their army, and the Inquisitor, as we said before, has a pretty respectable stat line. To claim the bonus on this, your opponent needed to slay your Inquisitor, but needed to do it when he has a model within 6 inches of it. So if you're able to kill it in close combat or something like that, then you would get the bonus VP. How'd you get that round?
I was playing Simone Bongiovanni, and that was an interesting game because he was playing a very similar list to mine. So I was playing the Nurgle Bike Star with the support. He was playing a Nurgle Plague Marine Star with similar support. We both had Cypher in our armies. He had Typhus.
Typhus and a Librarian on a bike.
Yeah. So Typhus for him, his rationale, we spoke after the game, he was to unlock Plague Zombies as backfield, kind of the cultists with Feel No Pain, slow and purposeful. So yeah, he had a very similar list to mine. But the difference being that his star in combat was more hearty than mine. So mine was more defensively powerful because I had the 2-up Jink. But in combat, he had way more wounds.
Yours is definitely faster across the table.
Yeah, exactly. So, and obviously it was hard to get the bonus mission because we both attached obviously our Inquisitors to our stars. So, and he had less backfield than me. He had very little backfield, just his cultists. His star was screening his backfield, but he had drop Terminators, and he was using his units of Obliterators.
2 units of 3 Terminators and 2 units of 2 Obliterators.
Actually, he had 3 units of Obliterators, 3 units of 2.
Units of 2
And the Obliterators, he deployed, he infiltrated them. with the warlord trait.
Okay.
And basically what he did was he just used his obliterators for some long range shooting. It was difficult for me to get angles to get shots, and I passed an absolute ton of 2+ saves as obliterators.
Yeah.
And he dropped Terminators and was dealing with my backfield. And I had a situation where our stars were both midfield. I didn't want to assault him because I knew that I didn't have anywhere near enough combat capability to overcome his star.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got locked in assault, if he passed that hit and run, that 4-up roll to hit and run, he would...
You mean the roll-off?
Yeah, the roll-off hit and run. If he
Yeah.
won the roll-off hit and run, he would bounce into my backfield and just destroy all my Nurglings, Cultists, Havocs. So I had everything to lose from him hitting running, but I didn't have much to gain from the
Typhus
successful
is
hit and
also
run.
very good against you. Like, he causes instant death, I believe, because he has a force weapon. So
Yeah,
he can get around you,
do
feel no
that.
pain, and he's AP2 and lots of attacks. So he would have caused a problem with your star as well.
So yeah, I just kind of felt like I was...
Typhus's biggest drawback, though, in that scenario, when you've got this really, like, big footprinted Death Star, is you want to kind of use that to try and run things down, and Typhus being in Terminator armor prohibits that, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so Typhus is a bit of a liability in some ways, but
Double-edged
he
sword.
didn't need to do that because with me, obviously, he just needed to cause casualties.
Yeah.
He just needed to just hit my everything and just explode it with
Yeah.
with attacks. So I just felt like if I overextended, I was going to get 20'd. So I basically just pushed out a very small loss. So I ended up claiming an 8 to 12. Neither of us claimed the bonus objectives because we just couldn't. We knew we just didn't. Our stars didn't end up in combat with each other. So it was basically a stalemate. Ultimately.
Okay, how'd you go, Caine?
So I played Jack Baring with his Orc list in round 2. Very, very good game, very tight. Few things swung my way, like at one point I had a 9-man breacher team kill a Orc war boss on a bike, which is a little bit of a highlight.
Was it
in
close combat?
Yep. 7 hits.
Good
and,
loss.
7 hits, 5 wounds, and he died. So yeah, very good rolls, very lucky, and that was probably the difference between me getting like a 9-11 loss to me getting a 12-8 win. Jack did get first turn, and he managed to do like we described, basically just drive forward flat out and just swamp your deployment zone first turn. Pulled off a couple of good screens and stuff, but yeah, tight fought. Got a couple of lucky maelstroms. Good round of combat versus his war boss. Managed to get the knobs out and shoot them with iron accelerators and stuff, and try and instant death a few of them and stuff, and just kept fighting the whole game, kept thrusting away, kept moving, kept fighting, and managed to pull out a win. So yeah, good game.
Interesting. My round 2 was against the new Genestealer cult, which was pretty interesting to play against. It's the first time I've seen it in action. I don't know if you guys have played it yet, but I was playing against Sean Donaldson, and he was running. It was a pretty varied list. He had a couple of Carnifexes in there, a big unit of Zone Tropes, lots of gaunts and stuff. There's one flying around doing its thing. When he deployed, it's pretty funny. He deployed it, and he's got this awesome model with the Flyrant. It's real big. And then he deployed this big swarm of gargoyles around it, and I was like, oh, Sky Tyrant formation thing. And like, that thing's going to be a pain in the bum to do with. He's like, nah, not Sky Tyrant. And I'm like, oh, okay, no respect. But no, it was an interesting game. Unfortunately for him, a few of his elements weren't as effective as they would be against other players. Like, he's running close combat against my unit, which has better close combat, so he kind of tipped over there. He really did what he could to try and draw it out and try and get what he could, and he did a great job of that. He managed to just keep backing up the Zone Thrope unit. He got really unlucky in the psychic phase right throughout the game. Like, took a lot of perils and failed a lot of psychic tests. So he just couldn't get out the psychic DAC that I think that list was built around, which was probably maybe a failing of that formation. I'm not really sure. So yeah, no, I pushed out the win there, which was quite convincing. It was pretty one-sided, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, that's good. So then we got that was mission 2. So mission 3 was the we were playing. Do you want to tell us about what the format was?
Yeah. So mission 3 was the scouring. So that's we had scouring. We had tactical escalation on the Maelstrom of War there. All the standard secondaries, and then the bonus points here was an interesting one. This is probably the hardest one to get throughout the whole tournament. At the start of the game, each player wrote down a number from 1 to 6 in terms of objectives, and you then had to get your Inquisitor, who at this point was only a token. You had to get your Inquisitor to that objective, and you didn't know which one it was.
And the deployment was also hammer and anvil, which made it quite difficult because you're playing long tables, so the objectives are very, very spaced out.
It was kind of obvious in some ways where your opponent would choose. They're not going to choose one in your deployment zone.
Well, I actually did that. Because my opponent put his unit with his Inquisitor at the front of the line.
Yeah, I actually did the very
And
same
then I
thing.
I picked the objective behind it.
Oh, because he had to push forward.
And I'm like, he's not going to go backwards.
Oh, that's true. No, that actually makes a lot of sense.
That's exactly.
How'd you go? How'd you go in that round?
I was playing Brad Thompson, who some of you might know. Obviously, plays a Demon's Army. He's been playing that for a while now, and it's very well painted, beautiful looking army.
Oh, is this Lanesh one?
No, it's Khorne.
Khorne.
But he runs a mix.
Oh, right.
It's actually mixed. He's actually nothing. It's everything. He's got Zench stuff in there.
Okay.
He's got Khorne. He's got and he runs some like demonettes and stuff as well.
Yeah, and he also has a lot of stuff for summoning and stuff. Like it's your vanilla mono,
demons,
not mono,
exactly.
multiple.
Yeah, cool.
And he runs some Khorne dogs with a herald of Khorne in there. So he's got like a very varied list.
A couple of soul grinders and stuff as well.
Yeah. And I was at the start. I had a really bad start. It just wasn't going. Didn't look good for me at the start. But my star ended up clashing with his Khorne dogs, and I was just getting the better of him in combat. And pulled off some big hit and runs, broke into his lines, and was able to just kind of rip him. It basically was whose star was going to beat whose star in combat.
Yeah, right.
I had a sorcerer with force up that killed. I think it was it a keeper? I think it was a keeper of secrets actually.
Yeah, right.
I killed a keeper of secrets. Just ID'd it, so I got the 1 wound caused 5 wounds. Pretty good value, just really good. The hit and runs, wiping through his summon demons, kind of the small units of horrors and stuff like that, just obliterating them all. Really getting really good value out of just winning combats, like setting up multi-assaults to try to win combat by 9 or 10, and then get those instability checks on multiple units. So I was just cutting swathes through the demons. In the end, my star was down to 3 or 4 models left, just the ICs. I managed to keep them alive. It was really close, but I pulled a 20. I was able to get, and I was also able to get that
secret objective.
Yeah, on his backfield. So.
Yeah.
So it worked well for me, but it could have gone either way. Like legitimately, could have gone either way. I could have lost my star, and then he could have got the 20. So. How did you go, Caine?
Well, I actually lost this round. I played Simone Bon Giovanni, so with his Nurgle army. Very, very good army. I obviously, playing Tower, was going to be out shooting him. I had some Tank Hunter and Monster Hunter, which really wasn't too relevant against him. He did a lot of deep striking against me and some pretty well-placed deep strikes, so I didn't actually want to use my Interceptor in case I missed or hit. And there was also a lot of other viable targets to shoot, so I really didn't want to waste it on that without Marker Lights. Definitely very, very tough game. It was a 12-8, and it could have gone either way. The game actually ended turn 6. Had it gone to turn 7, I probably might have been able to pull a win back. At the end of the game, someone only had, I think, 2 units of Cultists and a Biker on 1 wound running away.
Almost.
He was. Well, the Cultists were almost like they were majority wiped out. They were like 6 or 7 Cultists. And that was
so
about
it's almost a tabling.
Yeah, almost a tabling.
Yeah.
And I was pushing forward to try and take the objectives. There was an objective in the middle of the table which I made a bad thrust move and didn't quite make it to it. Like had I rolled about a 7 or an 8, I probably would have got the objective, and that probably would have drawn it, and maybe even turned it to a 12-8 my way. So definitely very, very good game. Simone is a very good player. He's been playing this list for a very long time. He has a lot of little tricks and stuff up his sleeve with this list that I think he pulled out. So.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was obviously very interesting this from Simone, using a lot of and capitalising on some of the recent down companies to chaos as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Jordan, how'd you go?
I played against a Dark Angels player in round 3. It was the Hammer of Anvil deployment, so it was long wedges, and as I said, did some shenanigans with the objective placement. That game there, Gazzy really pulled his weight. The War Council just drove down the middle, and my opponent decided to sink a lot of damage into the big bad Gork, which didn't really pay off for him. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to actually put it down that game. But he did. He had a lot of Dark Angels, a lot of bikes, Ravenwing bikes, Deathwing bikes, scouting around the sides and whatnot, trying to flank me. But it's interesting. Orc Boys hit amazingly hard. Like when you get charged by a unit of Orc Boys, you really feel it. Like what is it, 80 attacks on the charge?
Yeah.
from 20 guys, it's a lot of damage. So they just sort of, shored up the sides, and Gazzy punched through the middle, and he just capitulated. It was really close at the end. My star was almost dead as well. Like, he just put a lot of damage in there when he realised the Gork wasn't going to go down. So I managed to pull a pretty big win on that one as well.
Yeah, nice one.
Held out.
So full 20 for you?
That round there was a 22.
Yeah, so you got the bonus. Yeah, well done.
But in saying that, he played it pretty well. He played as best he could. He also had 2 whirlwinds, which is interesting. Usually people don't really rate whirlwinds, but when you've got 60 boys on the board, you kind of really don't want those whirlwinds.
Yeah, it's a scary factor.
He had really bad luck as well, actually, with his Terminator. He had a Librarian and Terminator unit, which didn't come down until turn 4 or 5.
Ah, that's no good. Yeah.
And they went in my backfield and weren't able to really do much from at that point in the game. It was too far gone. So round 4, we had Big Guns Never Tire, which is interesting because that's the second one we had in the event. We had Big Guns Never Tire.
So round 1 and round 4 was the same.
Round 2 and round 4, was it, or round 1?
I think it was round 1 was the first.
It was round 1. It was Big Guns Dawn of War round 1.
And round 2 was the Scouring. No, round 3 was the Scouring. So a lot of fast and heavy kill point stuff.
A lot of modifiers to units. So
really hurts me when I'm running 5 heavy slots. Round 4, Big Guns Never Tire. Maelstrom was Cloak and Shadows, which is always fun. The bonus mission in this, you're back to having your Inquisitor again, and so you're escorted. Sorry, you actually had a fallen Cypher, so you're escorting him around, and all you had to do was try and kill him with a unit within 6 inches. So.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start us off. I looked at the matchings at this point. So this was obviously the first day, first game of day 2.
First game, day 2.
So we all went in pretty excited. We'd all we all knew we were poised.
Yeah, we all had the points and stuff displayed on the community comp terminal, and we were able to keep track of it. So we were able to find out roughly where we were placed, battle wise, and see how we were going. So we all knew we were competitors coming into this.
Yeah, and I was in a position where I had 3 players that I could kind of play. I could have played your opponent of this game, but I also and I thought I was going to, or maybe not. I'm not sure, but it was also Dave Yamana's Eldar.
Yeah.
Then I had Lachlan Morrison's War Convocation, so the battle convocation, kind of like Benzagama's, but the actual formation.
Yeah, right.
And then I think the other person on high BP was Simone, who I had already played.
I was.
Oh no, it was you, and I was equal with you.
Yeah, we were. I think I was. Was I first at that point? I can't remember.
No, you were like
second or third. Second or third.
Second or third. Okay.
I think it was second and third, or second and third.
And we were equal.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point was that I did end up getting matched against Lachlan Morrison's War Convocation, and that was brutal. And I kind of knew that it was just a really difficult game for me going into it. Just similar to what we discussed in part 1 with, part 2 with Benzagami's list. Very similar, except Lachlan, he was running, I believe it was a 12 comp list. The War Convocation cost him 10 comp, 6 for the formation, 4 for the Imperial Knight Gallant that he had, and then he had 2 comp in other things. I think he had some grab and some other things that pushed him over. And it was really hard to deal with from my perspective. I had a really good turn 1. I was able to get first blood. He had deployed his... I was able to get some shots onto his assassin, and ID his Vindicare assassin, which got me first blood. I also was...
What was that with? What ID'd it?
It was a strength 8 shot.
What were you
using? It was a melter shot, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. And then what I was also able to do was use the auto cannons and las cannons on my Havocs to pop his 3 Striders, the Iron Striders.
Oh, really?
I put enough shots in and I got quite good hits and pens to actually kill a whole unit of 3. So that combination of some explodes from the las cannons, I think, and so I had a really good turn 1.
Yeah.
But he kind of just was very relentless, moved up the field. Those Sikaran Rust Stalkers and Infiltrators put the hurt on my star. They actually killed lots of bikes in combat. They assaulted my bikes on turn 2. He put a ton of was just killing the toughness 6 bikes. He had a lot of strength 6 on those guys, and I ended up putting myself in a position where I could have pulled the win in that game. I had a really good hit and run. I assaulted his Warlords unit in one turn that had that Inquisitor in it, and he had about 4 kill points in that unit. And I also got the multi-assault on the unit of Grav Cataphrons, and I won the combat by 10, but he managed to get a heroic morale pass on the Cataphrons. which foiled my whole plan. And then he rammed the knight into me. Yeah, just the way it is. And I took a really risky, which could have been a mistake in that game. He put a D attack with his Imperial Knight on my star. And at that point, my star was almost depleted. I had no Nurgle bikes left. I just had my ICs. And he gave me one hit. And rather than risk losing my Warlord, who had one wound left with the 4-up invuln, or losing my Sorcerer, I actually took the hit on Cypher. The reason why is because Cypher's got 3 wounds.
Eternal Warrior.
Eternal Warrior, so he would need to roll the 3-wound hit to actually kill Cypher.
Yeah.
And if he didn't, I would hit and run, and then in my turn,
Yeah.
multi-assault again. But he rolled the 5. So he got the kill on Cypher, which lost me the game at that point. But it was, you know what, I was really happy with the game, and Lachlan's really canny, really, wily opponent, knows what to do, and he's playing a really good list and played it well. And really beautiful army as well that he got commissioned by Titan Miniatures, so there's a shout out as well there.
Yeah. It's a nice
How'd you go,
army.
Caine?
So I played Anthony Quilty with Grey Knights, and his list was very similar to Adam Trapetsky's. So 2 deep striking shunting Dread Knights, 3 units of Terminators, I believe, 2 units of strikes, 10-man strikes, an Inquisitor, a Grandmaster, a Bastion with another Inquisitor in it full of henchmen, and I have bolters and so forth in there. Lots of little tricks in his list, like some synergies and stuff that worked really, really well for him. Played pretty well. Basically, first turn I just pushed up and just tried to take as much table space as I could because he was deep striking a lot of his stuff. Tried to deny him some space for his deep strikes and stuff. Got a really good deep strike round down. Almost everything hit, perfect placement, and between that and the runs was able to do a lot of damage in his first turn. But I have a lot of shooting in my list, so I was able to sort of then just pull back and try and hold like my quarter of the table, and just try and shoot at units while swinging to the left a little bit, like moving to the left, and trying to just create greater charges and stuff for him. I was able to go pretty well until turn 5, and in turn 5 everything just went down, and stuff wasn't dying that was on objectives. Just a few 5+ invuns and some invuln saves on guys that just from ID hits and things like that. They stayed up, and he ended up getting a 12-8 win. He did, and so 1 or 2 dice either way though. It was a good game, very well played.
Was he running that thing with the Inquisitor on the Bastion?
Yeah, he was. Inquisitor with Cybolt on a Bastion because it buffs the heavy bolter to strength 6. And
yeah, it's very cute. We never laugh about it because
yeah, he had a few things like that. Like the Inquisitor is not in Terminator armor. The Inquisitor had the Nemesis demon cover as well, so he casts Force with the unit. He doesn't have the Psychic Mastery level, but the Force goes off in the unit, and then obviously he causes instant death. Lots of little combos and stuff in his list.
His list was good. Like I had a look at it. It was admiring his paint. His paint was a work in progress.
Yeah, he'd only just started.
Exactly.
So I had a good chat
but
with him.
But he showed a couple of the models, like I think it was his Grandmaster was finished.
Definitely some cool conversions.
Yeah,
and stuff
and it's going to look really good. So he's excited to be working on that at the moment. But that's Cybolt, Anthony, if you're watching Anthony, naughty boy, because there's some big holes there. I said, put it on a quad gun.
Yeah,
that's serious.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I
get excited when I see people make these little creative plays. I actually get excited.
It's
get a little hope.
Yeah, I do as well. I actually said, if I take that, I'm going to shamelessly steal that. So sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, there's definitely some good combinations with that trick. I can think of some fun ones.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Plasma Obliterator. What strength is a Plasma Obliterator?
7.
So it pushes at 8.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It only works on bolters. It only works on bolt weapons.
Yeah, bolt weapons.
Oh, so you can't put it on the thingy.
Yeah, heavy bolter.
No, you have a heavy bolter.
Yeah.
But
why doesn't it work in an assault? Oh, it specifically says...
It's like bolt weapons. So assault cannons, heavy bolters, bolt pistols.
Oh, trash.
Yeah, correct.
No, I'm joking. It's good.
No, it's definitely good. It's got its options. There's definitely ways around it and some toys with it. So
yeah, no, it's good.
I think that was the game where I instant deathed his Inquisitor with the plasma pistol from the Inquisitor. The
that's
plasma
good.
pistol, yeah.
Because in that round, you had the Inquisitor and the plasma pistol.
Yeah, the Inquisitor had the plasma pistol, and I shot his actual Grey Knight, his Inquisition Inquisitor with a plasma pistol.
Was it the one that was sitting on the Bastion with his cheeky style?
No, he had one in the Bastion, and then he had one that deep struck with his Terminator unit. He split off to try and get an objective, and I'm like, let's just see if I can get this cheap kill.
Overcommitted. Just got greedy.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I'm a shocker.
So how did you go?
I played Orc v Orc. Everyone was so excited. I had the number of people. I've never had so many people come around my table to try and watch a game. It was my horde versus Jack Baring's horde, and he taught me a few things about orcs. It's fair to say. those Orc bikes shredded me. He unfortunately his bully boys weren't that great because I just had enough to like eat it and then respond. So yeah, he got unlucky. He set up a multi-salt, not a multi-salt, but he was gonna charge my Gaz War Council with his 3 units of bully boys, and he failed to charge on 2 of them.
Oh, devastating.
It is devastating. One of them was only like a 6-inch charge, and he popped Y that turn, I'm pretty sure. So like he had like the reroll. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a good percentage chance of him making those.
I don't know how, to be honest, I don't know how much difference it would have made, because with the second unit getting in, my unit would have actually got an extra D3 attacks as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, this is how it played out. Unfortunately, I lost that game. It was unfortunate, Jack, because it meant that I lost. So yeah, no. We were both amazed at how effective, again, Orc boys are, in terms of, like, he moved up a unit of bikes, 10 bikes. They blasted a whole unit of boys off the table with those, strength 5, AP 5 guns shredded. Yeah. And then I charged them with 20 boys, managed to get, 12 in, because I died a lot to Overwatch. But then I actually wiped the whole unit off the board with a unit of 12 boys.
Yeah, the Overwatch from a unit of Orc bikes is phenomenal. And just a shooting output is amazing.
Yeah, obviously Orcs with the Ballistic Skill 2, they're relatively better at Overwatch.
That were the twin links. 18 points, crazy. So yeah, no, it was a good game. He played it really well. I ran out of stuff. Unfortunately, in that game again, my 4th game, I didn't get first turn again. Didn't get first all tournament. I wasn't able to get any value out of my tax options, which were the unit of 3 killer cans and the 2 Def Dreads, and also the Gorkanaut. Like, I just got no value out of them. The only times that they got engaged throughout the event was when my opponent chose to engage them, and it usually meant that they had the upper hand at that point.
Yeah, well, they're a lot slower than the other units.
They are just too slow.
Yeah.
People look at it and they think, oh, it's a Gorkanaut. And I'm like, sorry, not the Gorkanaut, what's the big one called? The Stomper. Like, oh, it's a Stomper. I'm like, no, it only moves 6 inches.
Yeah.
And it's really awkward because in this scenario, my deployment meant that a corner of the base was in terrain. So I start off and I roll 2d6 and I get like a 2 for my movement.
That sort of stuff hurts.
And the base is so big that as soon as you get out of one piece of terrain, you're in another piece of terrain.
I don't think you should have, I don't know. What's the front AB on it? 13, right?
Yeah, 13.
Yeah.
Turn it sideways, you think, and just move it sideways?
Well, it's side 13 as well. So yes, you do. You turn it sideways, but it's so big that anyway.
You're still clipping terrain.
Yeah, I know. I think
yeah, it's definitely something.
You just need to know, because again, when we played that game, it just wasn't relevant enough.
It is a big slow unit, and I have played against them before, and they are. And pretty much with things like cans and all that sort of stuff, and dreadnoughts and stuff, you pretty much for the first 2 turns almost honestly have to, if you want to keep them up with the boys to get in that 3rd and 4th waves, you pretty much have to move run.
But then you're sacrificing all the shooting, which is what I took it for.
You are sacrificing the shooting.
But the shooting on it wasn't even relevant either.
Yeah,
because
correct. Like it's situational.
I looked at the profile on it, and its stat line was amazing. It has so much DACA, and then it's like a heavy 3d6, strength 6, AP 4 shots. Now, if you said that to a Marine player, they'd be like, hell yeah. But the reality was, I'm rolling like 9 most of the time.
But it's only 10,
and then getting 2 or 3 hits.
on average.
It is only 10.5 on average.
And
shots.
Then you get 2, 3 hits.
You
2,
might
3
wound to 2 or 3. Like,
you're lucky if you kill a Marine.
So. Yeah, it sounds really good.
Until
when you think 3d6, you think like, oh, I'm gonna get 18. I'm gonna hit all of them. I'm gonna kill 18 Marines.
Plus the missiles. It's so good.
But if you look at
in reality, move run.
But it's good because in some ways, like your opponent, if you tell your opponent that and say, last game I killed 10 Marines with 1 volley, they're gonna start putting all their shooting into something that's probably never gonna see combat. So it's almost like a bit of a red herring. I think.
It's a cunning play, that one. That's the problem. Like Jack knew what it did. He knows
Orcs. He just let it go.
He just let it go. It was the last thing he killed, and he just charged it with 2 knobs on bikes, and they ran in there. My Gork whiffed, and then they just power pulled it to death. And that happened across the board pretty much. I just got schooled in the way of Orcs, which was enlightening. Jack played it well, and props to him for that. So yeah.
So that brings us to the last and most. I guess it was an exciting round because we were all vying for the podium. I guess we all thought we had a chance going into it. But let's discuss what the final mission was.
The final mission, I think, it was just the relic. It's just the relic. Yeah. So
it was joint at war deployment.
Yeah, doing a war deployment. The relic, the secondary in this one was that the relic was Cypher. So basically, Cypher went in the middle of the board. Whoever captured the relic got to keep the model, and that was a really unique thing, really new to tournaments, and it added like a different element to the game where I don't doubt there was a couple of players that might have like thrown the game just to say I want the relic. Do you know what I mean? So that was interesting. How'd you go in yours?
I managed to pull a win in the end. I was versing Adam Ray in his Ultramarines. He had a very interesting Ultramarine list. Like it's one of those lists that you kind of look at and you don't necessarily see
the potential
of what it has.
Yeah.
But what he had was he had a unit of Grav Centurions with Kodiaz. He had a dropping unit of Combi Grav Stern Guard. And he also had another unit of Stern Guard in a pod. So he had 2 drop pods, but they both had Stern Guard in them. So one was guaranteed to come down, after the first turn.
So he'd stagger the drops.
Yeah, so he had almost deliberately. It looked like he had done it, which was interesting because a lot of players will kind of put the chaff in the back pods and just have like a turn 1 pod alpha strike, and they just have their kind of like supporting units coming down turn 2. But Adam kind of definitely intended to have that punch coming down as well.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with having a turn 2 or 3 drop punch. Like it's definitely going to make you think about what's going to happen and put you on the back foot.
Definitely. And he also had Legion of the Damned with the multi-melter. So I think it also had a melter gun in there as well. Yeah, he did have a melter gun. So he had some ignores cover there. Very interesting units. He had an assault squad that he combat squadded and used them just as kind of like board control, like getting objective capping units, which they were quite effective at. He kind of really put the hurt on me at the start. I misdeployed. This was one of the biggest mistakes I made all tournament. Was I underestimated what his grabs, because I had 2-up Jink on my star, but he had rolled up perfect timing on his scent unit, and I kind of within myself kind of felt like I wanted to bait him into trying to go for my star, and then I was going to like just wipe everything. Like I thought I was pulling a bait, but what I didn't realize was he was going to put a shit ton of hurt on me with his grab sense, which I should know because I've played grab sense before. But I was kind of planning to try and dispel perfect timing. I was like, I'm just going to dispel it, and I didn't. And he killed he killed my level 3 sorcerer on his Alpha Strike.
Oh.
And about 5 bikes. So he wiped more or less half my star with his Alpha. Then his combi grab came down as well. I was fortunate enough to weather the combi grab because, but he actually didn't. I don't think he used the combi grab. I think he actually was quite wily. He knew that I was going to be taking 2-up Jinx. So what he did was he used the 2-up Fleshbane, like the Dragon Fire rounds,
the Hellfire rounds, 1-on-2s.
Yeah, two plus 2. So it was really good. So he was putting lots of wounds, past some saves. But then basically what happened was the remnants of my star ate those. Stern Guard, but they didn't actually wipe the whole units. They locked up. Then I could hit and run out, hit his Centurions. Yeah, well, my spawn ran up the field and devastated a couple of his units. So I ended up just overrunning him in the end.
Actually, I did see that your spawn were like halfway up the building.
Yeah, my spawn kind of pulled some kind of World War Z kind of stuff. Was good. In the end, I believe it was a 12 to 14, something like that, around between 12 and 14 point win.
Okay.
And I got that model. So now always run Cypher. Thanks, Jared. Yeah.
Thanks, JB Painting.
Thanks, JB Painting, for that Cypher.
Cameo from Caine Marshall.
Yeah. So, Caine.
Okay, so I played Matt Jackson in that game, and it was basically a space of Champions of Fenris, I think it was, with lots of dreadnoughts. So basically he ran, basically he ran Bjorn, so he had a 5-up Seas.
It's a really good looking army. Sorry,
it was
really good looking army. Two swords like that.
They're all painted well.
They were all Contemptor dreadnoughts converted from, and all of them were different. All of them were different weapons. They were all painted in, I think it was like a Minotaurs or something scheme.
It was dark.
Yeah, it was dark.
It was a pretty
nice dark red.
It was
dark red with some white runes and stuff. But
and it was a commission. It was a Ben Clark job.
Yeah, Ben.
And Ben Clark actually wasn't at the tournament because he was in Sydney doing a heavy metal course.
Yeah. So yeah, very very good game. I did absolutely shoot the living hell out of him. Obviously, having 11 dreadnoughts and walking into like a tower gun line is not a good thing. He tried to play very smart and outflank a lot of his scouts and keep his stuff off the board for as long as he could. But I pretty much just pushed into the middle of the board and tried to control the middle of the board, used my SMS on the sides to shoot the scouts up as they were coming on and things like that. Used my my Tank Hunter Monster Hunter from my Firebase card rages to shoot up and keep shooting his dreadnoughts and things like that. The Sky Rays were phenomenal. They dropped Bjorn, just dumped 12 crack missiles on Bjorn and dropped him. In the end, ended up getting the win and grabbing the relic, and yeah.
Well done, Tank.
Now you've got a Cypher model. Now you can play Cypher.
Yeah, I have to put him in my tower army.
You gotta find a way to ally him in, bro.
Just have him on his own. Shrouded.
I think
Jump down to cover.
I'd rather stick with Shadow Sun, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Prudent.
Yes.
My last one was against Benno, Big Ben McKinley, and he was running that new demon formation. So I had a really enjoyable tournament. That I got to see a whole bunch of new stuff in addition to playing new army.
Like it.
Yeah, it was good. Amazingly tough, those demon princes, man. As soon as they become T6 and they've got FMP and stuff, it's like, wow, they're actually not pushovers anymore.
Yeah. If you can't instant death them and get them out of the road real easy, then they become a real nightmare.
Headache. He rolled up a 3-up invol, 3-up FMP on one of them, and like that thing would not die. When they're strength 6 with a 5-up, 3-up.
Toughness 6, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, it's toughness 6. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
But that formation looks really interesting, and I'm actually pretty excited about that. I think that might be like a legitimate way to run competitive demon princes.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a discussion with Jack, and Jack's actually considering running that at a tournament, I think.
I had a chat to Ben, and like I think we can all agree, we've all seen demon princes, been around for forever, but they just don't really relate like on the table how epic they should be. Like a demon prince is like the biggest thing is ever like split its ass out of the warp. Like it should actually tear face off.
Yeah,
and they don't.
In terms of obviously fluff, demon princes are like the Grey Knights invented Dread Knights.
Yeah.
Dread Knight
Just stand up,
just to handle that
stand
threat.
up to potentially deal with the demon prince. But we know in game,
Yeah,
you don't really want to.
You throw a few bolt guns at them and they keel over. Like seriously, they're a bit of a pusher.
I mean, they only have T5 and 3+ saves with multiple wounds. Like you got Nurgle for Shrouded, but realistically, like
this formation really like turned the tables on that.
Were they all with wings, or how did he?
So they're running them all with wings, and they're all obviously T6
I
because
believe you have to have a different god of each one. Is that correct?
correct.
Yep.
So it's one of each god, and from Benno, I didn't quite understand entirely how it worked, but as it was explained, they all sort of conferred a special rule to each other, and while they're all alive, they all were more powerful.
Yeah, I believe that as you kill them, they lose the special rule from that god. So like they get +1 toughness while the Nurgle one's alive or something along the lines of that, and it just and they get to like reroll.
So you can
a save
just target the Nurgle one first.
Yeah, you can, but it's still very difficult to do. Like especially a good player's going to hide it. He's got
and the Nurgle one's obviously got the 12 genes.
They can literally just afford to overload you. Like they throw 4 demon princes at you. Yeah, sure, you blow one off the table, but then the other 5 are going to hit, and they'll still kill whatever they charge you to do. Like
they 5.
Yeah.
There's 5.
Yeah, it's a formation of 5.
No, formation of 4. Sorry.
Yeah, so he ran.
So the other 3. Sorry, the other 3.
I was gonna say like
The other 3 will hit you.
You kill one and it's like that. It's like Hellboy when it's two spawn. Remember that film?
I do remember that film. Close, similar.
But no.
But no, it was an interesting game. He had those and he mixed in some Morphines. Morphines, I've seen mixed results from them, but it was just again that saturation of things at a T6 plus AV12 hull points everywhere. Pretty tough list actually.
So also both with wings, we'd be very fast. You got beasts plus jump infantry.
Exactly.
Yeah, it synergizes pretty.
I thought to myself, I looked at it, I'm like, he's running an assault time. I'm going to cream this, but it actually just stood the test. And like I think that the War Council in that game took 5 rounds of combat to put down 2 demon princes.
Yeah, especially if you get lucky with your gifts. Like your gifts, you can get 4+ feel no pain, reroll invuns. You can get +1 wound, you will not die. Once you start factoring that stuff in with the buffs from the formation,
that's true.
Plus, like if he's got like maybe gets lucky and gets +1 invuln and things like that, like it really starts to really change. Like,
again, unfortunately, the War Council was left out there in the field on their own because again, my walkers, Caines, Death Dreads. Gorkanaut, or Mork, Hand of Gork or Mork.
Oh, they're the 2 gods.
Yeah, they're the 2 gods. Anyway, they got left behind, and as soon as they made combat, the DPs just turned around and just punched them in the face at I9, and that was.
So you lost that game.
No, I did come up with the win. I did manage to get, the little War Council on top of the objective, and I just sort of camped it.
Well,
So yeah.
Gazgil's still alive for a reason in the fluff. He's been through Armageddon a couple of times. The Sullys have thrown everything they can. The Templars.
Even the Grey Knights had a stab.
Grey Knights had a stab.
I
Blood
think,
Angels, Dante came. Oldest Living Space Marine came down.
There's been a few,
There's no
there's
luck.
been a few stabs at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, still going with his 2-up invuln.
Yeah, he loves it.
All day.
He loves it. All game, in
All
fact. So yeah, no, all up, good event. Any closing thoughts about your list, about how it might have performed?
Well, I actually feel like my list for a 5-comp list performed reasonably well, but unfortunately, you just can't. Chaos, even at, they just don't have the muscle to tackle.
They are. You have to be a really good
They're
player.
unforgiving. Lists that are 5-comp are just unforgiving. And when you make one little mistake, you really get punished.
And I'm taking for me the biggest, the make or break game was versing Lachlan's 12-comp War Convocation. And War Convocation is a list that people take in the uncomped events, like the big ITC events in the States.
It would have definitely been like a toned down version.
Yeah, it's a toned down version of it, but a lot of it
has a lot of the tricks
a lot of
and
the points, just like probably 12 or 1300 of those points are mandatory, and they get free points. It's a little bit like Battle Company; they get all these free upgrades. So you kind of just look at that, and in some ways, you just got to pull real miracles to win. But having said that, I feel like I learned a lot about the game playing a weak chaos list like that. I would change the list. I'm gonna have a Breaking the Meta episode where I go through my list a little bit more specifically. So maybe we should ask you guys how you went. How did you Did you feel like you could play that list again? That orc
Well, I
list?
definitely could play my list again, and I think I'm possibly going to run it at the next event. The 2 Riptides as a unit, a sole unit in the fire-based card rate, which is what I ran. I ran 2 broadsides, single broadsides, and then 2 Riptides, one with burst cannon and SMS, and just one with an ion accelerator SMS. Those 2 are phenomenal. They're so hard to hurt. Kept putting the ion accelerator with the overcharged invuln in the front for tanking.
Was split fire at all? Or
Yeah, you take target lock, so you got split fire on them, and then you take interceptor on the other one, so you've got a little bit of interceptor. You've got a bit of diversity, you can change your angles with your thrust moves, you can position, you've got Tank Hunter, Monster Hunter. It's a really great, versatile unit. There's not much you can't fight. I was even in Simone's game using the target lock to shoot one unit while shooting another unit with the other Riptide, then just charging both in, and just lots of strength 6 AP 2 attacks. Finishing off units are on 1-2 wounds left, like
obliterators and stuff.
Obliterators are on 1 or 2 wounds and stuff like that. Terminators are I just shoot them and do kill 1, maybe 2, and then just not have to commit to shooting it with a unit of battle suits or something else. Like just being able to finish it with the Riptides. It really gives you a lot of diversity. It's a really, really strong unit. I would say that the fire-based cadre is not amazing with 1 Riptide. It's definitely not worth it with 1. But with 2 Riptides in it, it's definitely a really strong unit.
Did you feel that you had to sort of fall back on any other supporting elements of Tau with the upcompings that have happened recently? How did you think it sort of played out?
Yeah, I did. This is the first tournament I actually ran Breaches and Devilfish in, and I've switched to running some Sky Rays as well. So with the Tau, I found going through the book, in order to get even a 6 to a 9 comp list now, you kind of need to fall back on all the elements and do very, very similar to like what Michael Hamilton did, which is touch on all the aspects and try and find where you can meet all the little points in the book and undercut the credits. So you take reach your armor value table, then you just take the elites, then you just take the minimum in the broadsides and things like this. So you can really have an effective army, but not.
And Tau can obviously do that quite well. They've got
you're in a fortunate position when you've got all those elements that can step up.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of really great choices in Tau, and you just have to touch on all of them to
when
play
you've got community comp is something that rewards diversity, and Tau
adaptation.
Yeah, and Tau have they've got efficient, effective vehicles, efficient, effective suits.
Yeah, there's very little in the Tau book that's inefficient.
In a community comp context, they're very good naturally because their units are high quality. But when you look at an uncomped environment where synergies and Death Stars become really important, that's where Towers start to fall down.
Yeah, correct. When Towers shooting through 2-up rerollables, it's
same sort of thing applies to things like Necrons as well, though. Do you know what I mean? And Tyranids. Do you know what I mean? Those armies don't really compete in that meta.
There's a lot of lists and stuff that don't really compete in that. So.
That's interesting.
So I think to wrap it up, I think we all had a bit of fun. We all performed pretty well. I mean, I think we're all pretty happy with how we went. We all put ourselves in positions to perform better, but like we kind of went through with the second part, the guys that monopolised the top few positions, the guys that finished well, all great players. All played the list really well. Congratulations to all of them.
Yeah.
We all kind of played them in some ways, interacted with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, just really good players. Hope to see them all around, continuing with their successful lists. And yeah.
Hopefully they can bring it at the Masquerade.
Yeah, so we got the men's Masquerade coming up soon, and we'll be there in full force with our 1350 lists.
Yes.
I'll be wearing a Venetian mask. Got the one with the
the big nose.
The big nose.
Big
yeah.
Pinocchio.
See if you can find me there.
You've been telling little white
That'll be a
lies.
bit of an improvement, won't it, Jess?
Yeah.
Well, I've been underselling my list a little bit. So,
play it down.
Better perform.
are you going to be coming, Caine? What are you going to be bringing?
Yeah, I'll be coming. I'll be bringing some form of towel. Probably, I'm not really
Really,
sure
you're playing
yet.
towel this matter.
Yeah, this year's probably going to be my year of towel.
What's a towel? What's a towel, Caine? Tell us
How high is the skill ceiling?
No. It'll be good. Yeah, so I'll actually be playing Harlequins. Looking excited for that.
Okay.
Yeah, on theme. I'm
Staying on theme. You're on theme this year.
Yeah.
You're going Chaos with Cypher for the hunt?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So make sure you give me full spots, and it'll be all swell. Rack up me some ITC points.
You've got your army organised for full paint and everything. You might do well.
Yeah. No, it's in there.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Alright guys, thanks very much. Once again, really enjoyable tournament. Huge props to Matt Antonello and Jared Briar for the event. Good stuff.
Yeah, it was very good, very smooth, and I hope to see some more themed events like that.
Thanks for all of our opponents too.
Yeah, word up.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Cheers guys.
See ya. Bye.